Ellen, I can't keep this to myself any longer. Harold has been seeing someone else. I saw them at the cafe today. Miriam's words hit me like a punch to the gut as we sat in my living room, sipping tea. My hands trembled, nearly spilling the hot liquid onto my lap. I stared at her, my mind reeling. What do you mean, seeing someone else? That can't be true. Harold would never... My voice trailed off as doubt crept in. The late nights at work, the secretive phone calls, the distant behavior, it all started to make a sickening kind of sense. Miriam reached out and squeezed my hand. I'm so sorry, Ellen. I debated whether to tell you, but I couldn't bear the thought of you being in the dark. You deserve to know the truth. Tears welled up in my eyes as the reality sank in. After 35 years of marriage, countless sacrifices, and unwavering dedication to our family, Harold had betrayed me. The man I had built a life with, the father of my children, had been lying to me, sneaking around behind my back. What do I do now, Miriam? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. How could he do this to me, to our family? Miriam pulled me into a tight embrace. You're strong, Ellen. You'll get through this. And you have me, Claire, and Harold Jr. We'll support you every step of the way. I nodded, wiping away the tears that now flowed freely down my cheeks. A wave of emotions crashed over me. Shock, anger, hurt, and a deep sense of betrayal. How could I have been so blind? The signs were there, but I had chosen to ignore them, to believe in the illusion of our perfect marriage. As I sat there, my mind raced with questions. Who was this other woman? How long had it been going on? Did our children know? The thought of Claire and Harold Jr. finding out about their father's infidelity broke my heart all over again. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. I need to confront him. Miriam, I need to hear the truth from his own lips. Miriam nodded. Of course, Ellen. But remember, you don't have to do this alone. I'm here for you, no matter what. I managed a weak smile, grateful for her unwavering support. Thank you, Miriam. I don't know what I would do without you. As we finished our tea, a newfound determination began to rise within me. I couldn't let Harold's betrayal define me. I had to be strong, not just for myself, but for my children. They deserved a mother who fought for the truth, who stood up for herself and her family. I glanced at the clock, knowing Harold would be home soon. The confrontation loomed ahead and my stomach churned with a mix of dread and anticipation, but I knew I had to face it head on. I couldn't live a lie any longer. With Miriam by my side, I steeled myself for the battle ahead. I would demand answers, uncover the truth, and fight for the life I deserved. Harold's secrets would be brought to light, and I would emerge stronger, no matter how painful the journey might be. As the front door clicked open, signaling Harold's arrival, I took a deep breath and rose to my feet. It was time to confront the dark secrets that had been lurking in the shadows of our marriage. The truth would set me free, even if it shattered everything I had once believed in. The tension in the kitchen was palpable as I waited for Harold to come home. The ticking of the clock seemed to echo in my ears, each second dragging on for an eternity. When the front door finally opened, I steeled myself, ready to confront the man I had once trusted with my entire life. Harold walked in, his eyes widening as he saw me standing there, arms crossed. "Ellen, what's going on?" "We need to talk, Harold." My voice was steady, masking the turmoil within. "I know about the affair." His face paled, and he took a step back. "What are you talking about? There's no affair. You're being ridiculous." Anger flared within me. "Don't lie to me, Harold. Miriam saw you with her at the cafe. How could you do this to me, to our family?" Harold's expression shifted from shock to defensiveness. "Miriam? She's always been jealous of our marriage. You can't believe everything she says." I shook my head, tears stinging my eyes. "Stop making excuses, Harold. I've seen the signs for months now, the late nights, the secretive phone calls. I just didn't want to believe it." He ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident in his voice. "Do you really think I want to come home to this every day? To your constant nagging and suspicions?" His words cut deep, but I refused to back down. "So that justifies betraying our marriage vows? Betraying the life we've built together?" Our voices grew louder, the argument escalating. Claire and Harold Jr. emerged from their rooms, concern etched on their faces as they witnessed the unfolding drama. "Mom? Dad? What's going on?" Claire asked, her eyes darting between us. I took a deep breath, trying to compose myself. Your father has something he needs to tell you. Harold glared at me before turning to our children. It's nothing. Your mother is just overreacting, as usual. Claire stepped forward, her gaze fixed on Harold. Dad, please, just tell us the truth. The room fell silent, the weight of the moment pressing down on us all. Harold's shoulders slumped, and he let out a heavy sigh. Fine. I've been seeing someone else, but it's not what you think. Tears streamed down my face as the confirmation of his infidelity hit me like a tidal wave. Claire gasped, her hand flying to her mouth, while Harold Jr. stood frozen, disbelief etched on his features. How could you, Dad? Claire's voice trembled with a mix of anger and hurt. How could you do this to Mom, to our family? Harold's defensive demeanor crumbled under the scrutiny of our children. It just happened. I never meant to hurt anyone. I wiped away my tears, a newfound strength rising within me. But you did, Harold. You hurt all of us, and now you have to face the consequences. He looked at me, a flicker of fear in his eyes. What do you mean, consequences? I want a divorce, Harold. I won't live a lie anymore. I deserve better than this, and so do our children. The room fell silent once more, the weight of my words sinking in. Harold's face contorted with a mix of emotions, anger, regret, and perhaps even a hint of relief. Claire stepped forward, placing a supportive hand on my shoulder. We're here for you, Mom. You don't have to go through this alone. I nodded, grateful for her unwavering support. Harold Jr. remained silent, his eyes downcast, processing the revelation of his father's betrayal. As the initial shock subsided, a flurry of questions and accusations filled the air. The cracks in our family's foundation had been exposed, and the road ahead would be far from easy. But in that moment, I knew I had made the right decision. I refused to be a victim any longer. I would face the challenges head-on, with the love and support of my children by my side. The confrontation had opened a new chapter in our lives, one filled with uncertainty and pain. But it was also a chapter of truth, of reclaiming my dignity and self-worth. As I looked into Harold's eyes, I saw a man I no longer recognized. The love and trust we had once shared had been shattered, replaced by the bitter reality of his deceit. There would be no turning back now. The journey ahead would be difficult, but I was ready to fight for the life I deserved, free from the shadows of betrayal. In the aftermath of the confrontation with Harold, I found myself sitting in the living room, my mind reeling from the events that had transpired. The weight of his betrayal pressed down on me, threatening to crush my very soul. As I sat there, lost in thought, Claire walked in and sat beside me, her presence a comforting balm to my wounded heart. Mom, you don't have to put up with this, she said, her voice filled with concern and determination. You deserve so much better than what Dad has done to you. I looked at my daughter, tears welling up in my eyes. I know, Claire, but it's not that simple. We've been married for 35 years. I never thought he would be capable of something like this. Claire took my hand in hers, squeezing it gently. I understand, Mom, but you can't let him get away with it. You can't let him continue to hurt you like this. As we talked, Claire began to recount past incidents of Harold's erratic behavior. The late nights at the office, the secretive phone calls, the unexplained absences. Each revelation felt like a knife twisting in my gut, confirming the suspicions I had tried so hard to ignore. Remember when he missed your birthday dinner last year? Claire asked, her brow furrowed. He claimed he had to work late, but I saw him at the mall with a woman I didn't recognize. My heart sank further as the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. The extent of Harold's deceit was far greater than I had initially realized. Blood began to boil within me as the anger and betrayal consumed my thoughts. I can't believe I was so blind, I said, my voice trembling with a mix of sadness and rage. How could I have let this go on for so long? Claire wrapped her arm around my shoulders, pulling me close. It's not your fault, Mom. Dad is the one who chose to betray your trust. You didn't do anything wrong. Her words provided a glimmer of comfort amidst the darkness that had engulfed my world. I knew I had to be strong, not just for myself, but for my children as well. They deserved a mother who fought for what was right, who refused to be a victim of her husband's selfish actions. You're right, Claire, I said, my resolve strengthening with each passing moment. I can't let your father's betrayal define me. I have to stand up for myself and for our family. Claire nodded, a fierce determination in her eyes. "We'll get through this together, Mom. I'll be by your side every step of the way." As we sat there, plotting our next move, I felt a sense of empowerment rising within me. I had spent too many years living in the shadow of Harold's lies and deceit. It was time to take back control of my life, to rebuild what he had so carelessly destroyed. "First things first," I said, my voice steady and unwavering. "I'm going to file for divorce. I won't let him continue to manipulate and control me." Claire smiled, pride shining in her eyes. "That's the mom I know and love, strong, resilient, and ready to fight for what she deserves." With my daughter's support and the truth finally exposed, I knew I had the strength to face the challenges that lay ahead. Harold's betrayal had shattered our family, but it had also awakened a fire within me, a determination to rise above the pain and forge a new path for myself. As Claire and I continued to talk, planning our next steps, I felt a sense of hope blossoming amidst the chaos. The road ahead would be difficult, but I knew I had the love and support of my children to guide me through the darkness. Harold's secrets had been brought to light, and now it was time for me to reclaim my life, to build a future free from the shadows of his betrayal. With each passing moment, my resolve grew stronger, fueled by the love and loyalty of my daughter. Together we would weather this storm and emerge stronger, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The journey of healing and empowerment had only just begun, but I knew I was no longer alone in this fight. Just as I thought the storm of Harold's betrayal couldn't get any worse, an unexpected visitor arrived at my doorstep. Beatrice, Harold's overbearing mother, barged into my home without so much as a hello, her face etched with disapproval and contempt. "You should have kept your family affairs in check, Ellen. It's all your fault Harold strayed," she said, her voice dripping with venom. I stood there, stunned by her audacity. How dare she come into my home and accuse me of being responsible for Harold's infidelity? Anger bubbled up inside me, threatening to spill over. "Excuse me, Beatrice, but I don't think you have any right to come here and blame me for your son's actions," I said, my voice trembling with barely contained rage. Beatrice scoffed, her eyes narrowing. "Please, Ellen. If you had been a better wife, Harold wouldn't have had to seek comfort elsewhere. You've always been too focused on your own needs, neglecting your duties as a spouse." Her words cut deep, reopening wounds I thought had long since healed. Memories of the countless sacrifices I had made for our family, the years I had devoted to being a loving wife and mother, all came rushing back. "How dare you?" I said, my voice rising with each word. "I have given everything to this family, to Harold. I have been by his side through thick and thin, and this is how he repays me? By betraying our marriage vows and seeking solace in the arms of another woman?" Beatrice remained unmoved, her face a mask of cold indifference. "You have no one to blame but yourself, Ellen. If you had been more attentive, more understanding, none of this would have happened." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The audacity of this woman to come into my home and spew such vile accusations. It was as if she had completely disregarded the pain and heartbreak her son had inflicted upon me. "Get out of my house, Beatrice," I said, my voice low and dangerous. "I will not stand here and listen to you defend Harold's despicable actions. He made his choice, and now he must face the consequences." Beatrice's eyes flashed with anger, but she remained rooted in place. "You're making a mistake, Ellen. Harold is a good man, and you're throwing away a lifetime of marriage over a simple indiscretion." I laughed bitterly, shaking my head in disbelief. "A simple indiscretion? Is that what you call betraying your spouse, lying to your family, and destroying the trust that holds a marriage together?" The room fell silent, the tension so thick it was almost suffocating. Beatrice and I stood there, locked in a battle of wills, neither of us willing to back down. Finally, Beatrice spoke, her voice cold and unforgiving. "You mark my words, Ellen. You'll regret this decision. Harold is the best thing that ever happened to you, and you're throwing it all away." With that, she turned on her heel and stormed out of the house, slamming the door behind her. I stood there, trembling with a mixture of anger and exhaustion, the weight of her words hanging heavy in the air. But amidst the chaos and the pain, a newfound resolve began to take hold. Beatrice's visit had only strengthened my determination to break free from the toxic influence of Harold and his family. I refused to be a victim any longer, to be blamed for the actions of a man who had so carelessly thrown away our life together. I took a deep breath, squaring my shoulders as I prepared for the battle ahead. Harold and Beatrice may have thought they could break me, but they had underestimated the strength that lay within. I would fight for my dignity, for my right to a life free from betrayal and deceit. With each passing moment, my resolve grew stronger, fueled by the love and support of my children and the knowledge that I deserved better. I would not let Harold's betrayal define me, nor would I allow Beatrice's cruel words to shake my determination. The road ahead would be long and difficult, but I was ready to face whatever challenges lay in store. I had the truth on my side, and I would not rest until justice was served and my family was free from the shadows of Harold's betrayal. The confrontation with Beatrice had left me emotionally drained, but it had also ignited a fire within me. I knew I couldn't let Harold's betrayal continue to poison our family. It was time to take a stand, to put an end to the lies and deceit that had plagued our marriage for far too long. Late that night, I found myself in our bedroom, waiting for Harold to return home. The minutes ticked by, each one feeling like an eternity. When he finally walked through the door, I was ready, my resolve unwavering. "We need to talk, Harold," I said, my voice steady and firm. He looked at me, his eyes narrowing. "Can't this wait until morning, Ellen? I'm exhausted." I shook my head, standing my ground. "No, it can't wait. I've had enough of your lies and betrayal. I know about the affair, and I won't tolerate it any longer." Harold's face paled, and for a moment I saw a flicker of fear in his eyes, but it was quickly replaced by anger, his features twisting into a scowl. "You've crossed the line, Harold. It's over," I said, my voice rising with each word. "I want a divorce." He laughed, a harsh, bitter sound that sent chills down my spine. "You think you can just end our marriage, just like that? You're nothing without me, Ellen. You'll be lost without my support." I felt a surge of anger course through my veins, and I stepped forward, my eyes blazing with fury. "I am not nothing, Harold. I am a strong, capable woman who has given everything to this family, and I will not let you treat me like a doormat any longer." He moved towards me, his hand raised as if to strike me, but before he could make contact, Claire burst into the room, her eyes wide with fear and anger. "Don't you dare lay a hand on her, Dad," she shouted, placing herself between us. "Mom is right. You've crossed the line, and we won't stand for it anymore." Harold's face contorted with rage, and he lunged forward, trying to push past Claire. But she stood her ground, her eyes blazing with determination. "I'm moving in with Mom," she declared, her voice unwavering. "We're going to support each other through this, and you won't be able to hurt her anymore." Harold's eyes darted between us, realization dawning on his face. He knew he had lost, that his carefully constructed web of lies was crumbling around him. "You'll regret this," he snarled, his voice dripping with venom. "You'll both regret turning against me." With that, he stormed out of the room, slamming the door behind him. Claire and I stood there, trembling with a mixture of fear and relief. We had done it. We had stood up to Harold, and we had won. But even as the adrenaline coursed through my veins, I knew that this was only the beginning. Harold would not go down without a fight, and we had to be prepared for whatever he might throw our way. Claire wrapped her arms around me, holding me tight. "We're in this together, Mom," she whispered, her voice filled with love and support. "We'll get through this, no matter what." I nodded, tears streaming down my face. I knew that the road ahead would be difficult, that there would be challenges and obstacles at every turn. But with Claire by my side, I felt a newfound strength rising within me. We had taken the first step towards freedom, towards a life free from Harold's toxic influence, and we would not rest until we had achieved that goal, no matter the cost. As the night wore on, Claire and I sat together, planning our next move. We knew that we had to be strategic, that we had to gather evidence and build a case against Harold. But even as we plotted and schemed, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. For the first time in years, I felt like I was in control of my own life, that I was no longer a prisoner of Harold's lies and deceit. The breaking point had been reached, and there was no turning back now. The journey ahead would be long and difficult, but I knew that with the love and support of my daughter, I could face anything that came my way. As Claire and I settled into our new apartment, The weight of the past few weeks began to lift from my shoulders. We had taken the first step towards freedom, towards a life free from Harold's lies and deceit. But even as we unpacked our belongings and started to make this place our own, I knew that our journey was far from over. One evening, as we sat at the dinner table, Claire looked at me with a determined glint in her eye. "We're going to make sure he regrets every betrayal, Mom," she said, her voice filled with a quiet fury. I nodded, my own anger simmering just beneath the surface. "You're right, Claire. We can't let him get away with what he's done. Not just to me, but to our family, to the life we built together." We began to brainstorm, plotting our next move. We knew that we needed evidence, something concrete that would expose Harold's infidelity and deceitfulness to the world. "I've been thinking," Claire said, her brow furrowed in concentration. "What if we reached out to the other women Dad has been involved with? If we can get them to come forward to share their stories, it would be impossible for him to deny the truth." I felt a flicker of hope ignite within me. "That's a brilliant idea, Claire. If we can show a pattern of behavior, a history of lies and betrayal, it will be much harder for him to wriggle out of the consequences." We spent the next few days reaching out to the women Harold had wronged, gathering their stories and their evidence. Each conversation left me feeling more empowered, more determined to see this through to the end. As we pieced together the puzzle of Harold's deceit, I felt a sense of clarity wash over me. For too long, I had been living in the shadows of his lies, allowing his actions to dictate the course of my life. But now, with Claire by my side and the truth on our side, I knew that I had the strength to fight back. We compiled the evidence, creating a dossier that laid bare the extent of Harold's betrayals. Photographs, text messages, emails, all of it painted a picture of a man who had no regard for the sanctity of his marriage vows, who had no qualms about destroying the lives of those closest to him. As I flipped through the pages of the dossier, I felt a sense of empowerment wash over me. For the first time in years, I felt like I was in control of my own destiny, like I was no longer a prisoner of Harold's whims and desires. Claire placed a comforting hand on my shoulder, her eyes shining with pride. "You're so brave, Mom," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "I know this hasn't been easy, but I'm so proud of you for standing up for yourself, for refusing to be a victim any longer." I smiled, tears pricking at the corners of my eyes. "I couldn't have done it without you, Claire. Your support, your love, it's what's kept me going through all of this." We spent the rest of the evening planning our next move, discussing how we would confront Harold with the evidence we had gathered. We knew that it wouldn't be easy, that he would likely fight back with everything he had. But we also knew that we had the truth on our side, that we had the support of each other and the other women he had wronged. And with that knowledge, we felt an unshakable sense of resolve, a determination to see this through to the end. As the night wore on and we retired to our respective bedrooms, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. For the first time in longer than I could remember, I felt like I was exactly where I was meant to be, like I was finally on the path towards the life I deserved. And with Claire by my side, I knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, no matter what obstacles Harold might throw in our way, we would face them together, united in our quest for justice and our desire to rebuild our lives on our own terms. The day of reckoning had finally arrived. Claire and I had spent weeks gathering evidence, reaching out to the other women Harold had wronged, and preparing for this moment. As we walked into the local community center, where Harold was attending a charity function, I felt a sense of nervous anticipation thrumming through my veins. We had chosen this event carefully, knowing that it would be attended by many of the town's most influential people. Harold had always been so concerned with his reputation, with maintaining the facade of the perfect husband and father. But today, we would shatter that illusion, exposing the truth of his deceit and betrayal for all to see. As we entered the main hall, I spotted Harold across the room, schmoozing with a group of his colleagues. He looked so smug, so self-assured, as if he had no idea of the storm that was about to descend upon him. Claire squeezed my hand, her eyes shining with determination. "Are you ready, Mom?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I nodded, steeling myself for what was to come. "Let's do this," I said, my voice steady and resolute. We made our way to the front of the room, where a small stage had been set up for the evening's presentations. As we approached the microphone, I could feel the eyes of the crowd upon us, curious and expectant. I took a deep breath, my heart pounding in my chest. "Good evening, everyone," I began, my voice ringing out clear and strong. "I know many of you are here to support a worthy cause, but I'm afraid I have some troubling news to share with you tonight." The room fell silent, the air thick with tension. I could see Harold's face, his expression shifting from confusion to anger as he realized what was happening. "For years, my husband Harold has been living a double life," I continued, my voice unwavering. "He has been unfaithful to me, to our marriage, and to the vows we made to each other 35 years ago." A gasp rippled through the crowd, followed by a buzz of whispers and murmurs. I could see the shock and disbelief on the faces of those around us, the realization that the man they had thought they knew was not who he appeared to be. "But don't just take my word for it," I said, gesturing to Claire. "We have gathered evidence, testimonies from the women he has wronged, that paint a picture of a man who has no regard for the sanctity of marriage, who has no qualms about destroying the lives of those closest to him." Claire stepped forward, holding up the dossier we had compiled. "We have photographs, text messages, emails, all proving the extent of Harold's betrayal," she said, her voice ringing with righteous anger. "He has lied to us, to all of you, for years, and it's time for the truth to come out." I could see Harold's face turning red, his fists clenched at his sides. He started to move towards us, his eyes blazing with fury, but he was held back by a group of his colleagues, their faces etched with shock and disgust. "The truth always comes out, Harold," I said, my voice filled with a quiet triumph. "And now, everyone here knows the kind of man you really are." The room erupted into chaos, people shouting questions and accusations, demanding answers from Harold. But he stood there, frozen, his reputation crumbling around him like a house of cards. As Claire and I watched the scene unfold, I felt a sense of vindication wash over me. For so long I had suffered in silence, bearing the weight of Harold's betrayal on my shoulders. But now, the truth was out, and he would have to face the consequences of his actions. I knew that the road ahead would not be easy, that there would be challenges and obstacles to overcome. But with Claire by my side and the support of the community behind us, I felt a renewed sense of strength and determination. This was my moment, my chance to reclaim my life and my dignity. And I would not let it slip away, not now, not ever again. As the dust settled in the wake of Harold's public exposure, Claire and I found ourselves in a new chapter of our lives. We had moved into a cozy new home, leaving behind the painful memories and toxic energy of the past. The sun streamed through the windows, bathing the room in a warm, inviting glow, a perfect reflection of the hope and possibility that now stretched out before us. Claire and I sat at the kitchen table, sipping our morning coffee and reveling in the peace and tranquility of our new surroundings. The weight of the past few months had lifted from our shoulders, replaced by a sense of liberation and empowerment that was both exhilarating and terrifying. "We're finally free, Mom," Claire said, her eyes shining with a mixture of relief and excitement. "What do you want to do next?" I took a deep breath, considering her question. For so long, my life had been defined by Harold's betrayal, by the pain and heartbreak that had consumed me. But now, with the truth exposed and the community rallying behind us, I felt like I could finally breathe again, like I could finally start living life on my own terms. "I want to focus on myself," I said, my voice filled with a newfound sense of determination. "I want to rediscover who I am, what I want out of life. I've spent so many years living in the shadow of Harold's lies, putting his needs and desires before my own. But now it's time for me to put myself first." Claire reached across the table, squeezing my hand in a gesture of support and understanding. "I think that's a wonderful idea, Mom. You deserve to be happy, to pursue your own dreams and passions." We spent the rest of the morning brainstorming ideas, dreaming up plans for the future. I talked about taking a painting class, something I had always wanted to do, but had never found the time for. Claire suggested we take a trip together, maybe to the beach or the mountains, somewhere we could relax and recharge. As we talked and laughed, I felt a sense of joy and contentment that I hadn't experienced in years. For the first time in longer than I could remember, I felt like I was exactly where I was meant to be, surrounded by love and support, free from the chains of the past. Of course, I knew that the road ahead wouldn't be easy. There would be challenges and obstacles to overcome, moments of doubt and uncertainty. But with Claire by my side and a newfound sense of purpose in my heart, I knew that I could face whatever lay ahead with courage and resilience. In the days and weeks that followed, Claire and I threw ourselves into our new lives with gusto. We explored our new neighborhood, trying out local restaurants and shops, meeting new people, and making new friends. I signed up for that painting class, discovering a hidden talent and passion that I never knew I possessed. And through it all, we leaned on each other for support and encouragement, celebrating each other's successes and picking each other up when we stumbled. The bond between us had always been strong, but now it felt unbreakable, forged in the fires of adversity and tempered by the love and loyalty that had seen us through the darkest of times. As I looked around our cozy new home, filled with the laughter and warmth of my daughter, I felt a sense of gratitude and wonder wash over me. I had lost so much, endured so much pain and heartbreak, but in the end I had gained something far more precious. A second chance at life, an opportunity to start anew and build a future filled with joy, love, and purpose. And as the sun set on another day, casting a golden glow across the horizon, I knew that no matter what the future held, I would face it with my head held high and my heart full of hope. For the first time in my life, I was truly free, and that was a gift beyond measure.